Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to Get Moving Monday. This is Anthony McAvaney here from Get Online Lab. It may not be Monday quite yet if you're looking at this from another part of the world other than Australia, but if you are an Aussie, I hope you've had a great weekend. I'm, of course, based in Adelaide, South Australia. We've had well, a cool weekend. We've had quite a nice bit of rain too, which is always appreciated where I live because we live in a pretty dry part of the world. Briefly, for those of you who are new to the group and have never looked at a Get Moving Monday broadcast before, this is typically my day for teaching content. And the underlying purpose really of Get Moving Monday is all about encouraging members of the tribe who are coaches to start the week out with a specific intent so that you have an idea of exactly what it is that you want to achieve during this week. And as we work through the week and as we come to the end of the week, you're able to look back and find that you've been productive, that you've actually set out what you've actually completed, what it was that you've set out to do. So that's the purpose of it. Today, my topic, as you may have seen, is all about how to write a sales letter or webinar. And this, I believe, is one of the more critical sessions that I could teach, because for those of us that are in an online business, we need to be able to sell our programs. And there's so much noise there today out there, so many people competing for the attention of our prospects that we must find a way to cut through. So I hope that today's content on how to actually set about writing a sales letter or basically a formula or an approach for including a sales component, in a webinar that you might do. I hope that this is going to add a lot of value to your business. Now, look, as always, because I'm doing this live, I may not be able to see comments. But I will, at the end of the session, check for any comments and questions. So along the way, if you do have questions or comments, please add them and I'll check them. Or if you happen to be looking at a replay of this, similarly, I'll be checking the thread during the week to answer questions that people might have about this really important area. So what I'm going to do now is to share my screen, and I've got some slides here presented. If we share that, and we should be right up the top here. Just let me get the content organized. Yeah, so really the whole thing about copywriting, it is the art of persuasion in written form. So we're looking at how to actually write a persuasive sales letter or webinar script. We'll be looking at really combining a couple of approaches to write anything at all that you need to write that is persuasive. We'll be looking at a fairly common blueprint, but I want to add something that we can combine that blueprint with. And so when would you be wanting to use this? Well, usually you'll be doing something salesy when you have something that you want to promote. So this could be, for example, for an opt-in, and maybe a free or a paid opt-in, but typically persuasion like this becomes really, really important when you're putting paid offers in front of your clients. This area, I believe, can for some people be quite challenging. It certainly has been for me. I mean, I'm not salesy by natural inclination, and having been online now for many years, I've obviously begun to notice patterns in the way that people write. And I want to help you to avoid some of the obvious salesy kind of stuff that exists out there, which you'll see as we get into today's presentation. But there is an art to copywriting, and there's some deep psychology that's associated with it. So I would strongly recommend you'd be doing yourself a favor if you did a little bit of reading. So I've listed here some resources that I have found particularly useful over the years. First of all, there's a magic free ebook by Joe Vitale and Larry Dotson. and you can see the URL there. It's the Hypnotic Writings swipe file. But if you just type that in as a search term, you'll see a downloadable PDF. It's about, I don't know, maybe 30 pages, and it's got stacks and stacks of examples. Now, some of the things they talk about in their publication differs a little bit, but the whole content and the other authors that you see that I've listed there, it is all about the art of persuasion, and different people approach it in different ways. But there are some things in common there. There's the encouraging your prospects to use logic to evaluate your proposal, and then the how to actually use emotion. Because as you'll discover, if you don't already know, that people will evaluate what you have to offer logically, but they'll make the decision to actually buy based on emotion. The other three books that I've found useful, Joe Vitale has written a great little publication called Hypnotic Writing. You can get that on Amazon. Similarly, the Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman, who's widely acknowledged as like one of the gurus of copywriting. That's a terrific book, stacks of value. Again, I think I got my copy from Amazon. And also Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini was also really, really interesting. So, you know, I would recommend that would be worth your while, investing some money into those resources and begin to learn more about the art of persuasion, because really it is a critical component in your business. All right, well, let's hop into it. So where do you actually begin the process of copywriting? And you will be familiar with this if you've seen some of my previous teachings and lessons, that we all as coaches really have to have very deep clarity about the problem, the symptoms, the problem, the problem, and the symptoms of the problem that your client is experiencing, and the solution that your coaching is providing. And also being quite clear about what is it that you're promising people in terms of results or outcomes. What is your big promise? So the next diagram I'm showing you is you will have seen before if you've seen my other sessions. This is about the transformational client's journey from their point A, their point of problem or pain, through to point B, which is their desired outcome or their desired result. And all the vertical lines there are the steps and the stairs that are involved in your teaching. So, you know, I can't recall how many steps, there's probably about a dozen there. So, you know, this might be, say, a 12-week program with 12 individual lessons, which will help your clients transition from their point of pain to their point B. And, you know, within your teaching, there are probably going to be, most likely going to be, components which deal with mindset, the all-important mindset, because change is difficult for people. You know, things like lack of confidence, persistence, all of those sorts of things, like the mind, and you know, working with the mind in any program of change is critical. So as coaches, we've got a lot of input there. But also you're going to be teaching your clients a range of skills, and typically most coaches will also direct people to tools that they can use, just like I've done in terms of some recommended readings. If we look specifically at other applications, then so this could be in itself a promotional offer that you're talking about the entire transformational journey, or maybe you're getting your sales letter is to get your clients to sign up for a snippet or just a segment of what it is. But it's important to remember that all of those vertical lines are pieces in the puzzle, so all of your offers must be congruent. So the one I've circled there could be a lesson, which is simply a part of the journey that you're taking your clients on. But within that snippet, there's also going to be a pain point, and you're promoting a result. So you're promoting a partial solution to a part of the problem. So the same rules apply. What I'm talking to you here about is that you need to be clear about what that journey is that you're going to be taking your clients on, taking them from their point of pain, anxiety, frustration, whatever that might be, to a desired state. And this is going to be reflected in your copy. So what I want to now introduce you to is one way that you can add some structure to your sales content. And you know, if you've done any study of this, if you've looked up how to write great sales letters, you might have seen some formulas that look a little bit like this. So this is a fairly common approach, and I've put a bracket around items 3 and 4. And I just want to emphasize at this stage, with any formula, it's really a guideline. It's put there to help to give you some ideas about how to actually structure your content so that it actually begins to flow. But this kind of formula also is what experts like Sugarman and Joe Vitale and so on have discovered over time, that there is a fairly predictable flow or a journey that you take clients through with your sales copy. So if we look at it, you know, just to see how this might hang together, there's obviously a headline to attract people's attention. You're going to be talking about the client's problem and a solution that you're offering to that problem. You may not be familiar with the idea of storytelling, but we're going to talk about that as we go through. You'll certainly be putting right in front of them what your offer is. You'll explain what you're going to do as the coach and how you're going to do it. You'll be getting people to reflect about their ideal point B. How would that actually feel to be there? What sort of value would they put on reaching that desired point? How much would that be worth in dollar terms? You're then going to be talking about your actual price, the investment the client will need to make. Use of testimonials, which is what item 11 is about. The review the offer is reminding them what they're going to get. Again, you're nudging the pain point again with item 13. What are you going to lose? And then you ask for the business sign up now, and you would have a payment button. Now we're going to delve into these in a little bit more detail as we go through. But yeah, I just want to reinforce the point that you know, this is a guide only in terms of how your content might flow. So for that reason, we're going to combine this kind of structure with another approach that will make your sales copy so much more relatable. And it's an approach where we're going to use storytelling. So one of the downfalls in presenting a formula like that to you is that often results in a sales letter that just feels off. It feels clunky, it feels formulaic, and it will seem to them like you are trying to fit your sales message into a predefined structure, like a square peg in a round hole. And it's very tempting, and I can tell you this from personal experience, that when you're following a structure or a pattern like that, it really influences your thinking. And I think sometimes it restricts your creativity a little bit. So just be aware of that. So this is why I'm advocating that we add some storytelling to that. So I want you to imagine copywriting instead of just following a formula, but actually it's a process of telling your prospects a story that will lead them to realize that they need you, that your offer is going to be just the right thing for them right now, or your offer is going to be the thing that's going to change their life in a particular way for the better, or that your offer is just the right thing that will meet their need. So we will be looking at how to incorporate storytelling into that overall template or formula that I've shown you. So, all right, we begin the process, first of all, of being clear about the point A, point B transition, what the problem is and what your solution. Now we get into actually writing the copy. So the first thing on the list was the headline, and its purpose is to stop the reader in their tracks. As Joseph Sugarman writes, the purpose of the headline simply is to get the reader to read the subheadline. Joe Vitale writes exactly the same way. Other persuasive writers that I've read say exactly the same thing, that your copy needs to go step by step by step, and that each item in your copy almost pulls the reader to the next segment. So the purpose of the headline obviously is to attract attention and create interest. So, okay, you've got my attention, I'm interested, if you're interested, you're more likely to go on and read the rest of it. And then, you know, the sub-headline, if you're going to use that, and typically on a sales page, there will be a bold headline and often a sub-headline. That's very, very common in sales pages and squeeze pages. But yeah, so the purpose of the headline, grab their attention, short, punchy, and then go on to read the sub-headline. I just had a thought there. Headline writing is something that requires, in my opinion, a little bit of creativity and coming at it from some quite unique angles. And this is why I find Joe Vitale and Larry Dotson's swipe file download really useful. But similarly, if you do a Google search for examples of great headlines, it will come up with lots and lots of suggestions and examples of attention-grabbing headlines, things that are proven to work really well. The other thing that you can do in terms of headline writings is, you know, if you're able to get into a store that sells magazines, or even just to look on Amazon at titles of books and headlines, there's a lot of thought that goes into those, because, you know, you can imagine a rack of magazines in like a newsagent or a magazine store. And, you know, how are you going to get yours to stand out? And it will be things like the colour, and it will be typically the headline that's going to stop people to go, oh, that's interesting. So if we're using storytelling, just a couple of examples, and my creativity was a bit low when I was putting this together, but using the storytelling approach, you might write something like this: discover how to teach other coaches how to teach other coaches to coach their skills online. That didn't even sound right as I'm reading it back to you. But there's some more here. Discover how to teach other coaches their skills online. How to teach yoga instructors to create an online yoga membership. How to teach guitar instructors to hold online training sessions. How to is very common in use of headlines. I'd probably be saying to you right now, that's maybe not a good thing to use. Try and look for something other than how to. How to teach business owners, whatever it is going to be. I just want to reinforce, though, that, look, the headline actually really matters. Unless it actually grabs the prospect's attention, they're unlikely to read the rest of the content. So, you know, I think just about in terms of anything that has utmost importance in your sales copy, it's the headline, and it's worth doing plenty of research and plenty of thinking about. So, yes, I've said use Vitale and Dotson's swipe file for inspiration, and certainly there's stacks on Google that you'll discover if you do searching for headline. So let's assume that you've had a very, very creative inspiration. You've got a stunning headline that would stop anybody in their tracks. Where do we go next in copy? Well, we begin to talk about the problem. And there's a few ways that you can do that. And in fact, you can probably combine all three, but you could actually state the problem. So the idea here is to make a connection with your prospects so that they immediately recognize that you're talking to them and that the problem is specific to them, that you understand their problem. So you can state the problem, you could ask them if they have this problem, or you can make a statement that you can help them solve the problem. So as I say, you could use all three interchangeably in your copy. Again, you don't have to do that. It's more about the flow and the logic of it. So just some examples of how you might talk about the problem in your copy. So you would write in your copy, so the problem is you're a coach, but you struggle with the technology, the selling, and ways to deliver your content. Or something that's completely different. The problem is people are not able to come to your yoga studio anymore because of the lockdown, but you still want to be able to help your clients. Or another one, maybe as a fitness coach and you're selling your fitness program. You've tried lots of fitness programs, the problem is, but you've never been able to, and never seem to be able to stick to a regular fitness routine. Or to a restaurant owner, again, affected by the lockdown. Your restaurant's closed, but you don't know how you can continue trading during the lockdown. So that's asking people, that's stating what the problem is. And so if you're talking to the right prospects, and people identify with your statement of the problem, they're more likely to continue reading the rest of your copy. Another approach, the second of them, is to pardon me, is to ask, drink the water needed, cheers. The next thing to do would be to, you could try, is to ask if they are having the problem. So do you struggle with technology in your coaching business? Are you confused about what is the best business model to use in your coaching business when so-called coaching gurus seem to suggest different ways of doing things? Or are you feeling totally overwhelmed by the thought to be an online coach, you need to be continually creating new content? So just something to be aware of by being this specific. And it's not a bad awareness, it's a great awareness. You want your targeted copy to reach the right audience. So there are potentially some people, if this is in an ad or you're posting something on a blog to attract attention, people are going to read this and some people aren't going to be switched on by it. Now that's a great thing. I mean, the idea of having a scattergun approach is not productive to your business. You want to be talking to people who go, yep, you've nailed the problem. Yep, you seem to understand what it is that I'm experiencing. So I'm pretty interested in what you've got to say from here. You don't want people signing up to your programs who don't have the problem. It's just counterintuitive. So just be aware that you're going to get some of your audience dropping off. So they might have been attracted initially by the headline, but the problem could be, no, that's not me. That's a really good outcome. One more approach, we said there were three of them. You could make a statement. So basically you're making a statement that I can help you solve the problem. So here's some examples of that. I can help you with how to avoid struggling with technology in your coaching business. Or if you're feeling confused about the best online coaching model to use, I can help you cut through that confusion. Or if you're worried about the idea of having to create new content all the time for your coaching business, I can teach you a way around that. Or the great news is, whatever your particular problem is, there's never been a better time to start your online coaching business. Or if you're struggling with fitness, there's never been a better time to actually start a fitness program. Or if you're a person who owns a yoga studio and you need a way to find clients, there's never been a better time in history to actually start delivering your content online. So those three methods would be great ways to attract the attention of the audience and to keep them locked in that, yep, you're talking to me, I get it, that you understand my problem. So just to go back to the list, where are we in the process? We've talked about the headline, we've talked about the client's problem, we've addressed a little bit about the solution to the problem, but so the solution to the problem and the story kind of come together. So where does the story come in? So we've left it where maybe your approach is, if you're struggling with the thought about having to create continual content in your coaching business, I can help you with that. Or there's never actually been a better time to start your coaching business. Let's tell a story, for example, about why there's never been a better time to start your online coaching business. So just to expand on that theme a little bit. So, this is, I think, a terrific time in history for coaches with the COVID-19 lockdown. So just to elaborate on that, we could tell a story about why there's never been a better time to start an online coaching business. So for example, because of the COVID-19, there's never been a bigger demand for coaching. And why is that? Well, people are stuck at home looking for something to do. The lockdown has meant that lots and lots of people have lost their jobs and are now looking for an opportunity. They've identified there's an opportunity to develop or to do something in the coaching or consulting space. So they're looking for a way to make that a reality. Or there are people who don't want to return to an office. They've been forced to work from home. They like the fact that they don't have to commute anymore. They like the fact that they don't necessarily have to get dressed up in expensive clothes. They can be sitting around in leisure wear, or they could be sitting around in their sleepwear for that matter. It depends on the business and how much visibility. But there are going to be lots and lots of people who don't want to return to an office and have to continue to put up with a boss they don't get on with, or all the office politics. So you'd be telling a story about this in your copy. Or another group of people I'm particularly interested in working with, because as you can see, I'm sort of in the retirement era, people in retirement who need to supplement their income and who are looking to make a difference in the lives of others. And again, you'd flesh that story out, and you might have 2 or 3 paragraphs about the story, about why it's a great time now to actually to be involved in a coaching business. So if we just take that a little bit further, we tell a little bit of a story about the problem and about the opportunity. We now start to really hone in on the solution, and the solution to the problem that you're going to be talking about is the solution that you're providing to whatever the prospect's problem is. So if we again just look at some examples here for an online coaching business like mine, the solution might be an explanation of how your method works. So this is not about the process. It's more about saying, I recognize your problem, and this is how I'm going to help you deal with your problem. And it's not the how, it's the result I'm going to help you produce. So I'm going to teach you a way to set up your coaching content so you don't need to be continually creating new content. Their problem is, I can't stand the thought of having to spend the rest of my working life creating or thinking up ideas for new content. Now, if that's their issue, the result they're looking for is, how do I get around that? And this is what you're providing as the solution. If we look at another example, I'll show you how to organize your coaching content for people who are struggling with technology on a very simple to set up website, so that you don't need to have any fancy or complicated membership software that you need to use and to pay for. Or I'll also show you how to write a powerful sales letter so that clients will be drawn to your coaching in droves. People who maybe fear that they don't have the ability to attract clients. Or finally, I'll show you how to automate most parts of your business so it virtually runs on autopilot, which means that you have more time to do other things that you'd like to be doing. So again, we're not talking about process here. We're talking about, here's your problem, and here's the desired state that my coaching is going to take you to. Really, really important that you don't get bogged down in process. We look at just some other examples. For example, in a fitness business, the solution might be, I'll teach you how to set a fitness goal that's achievable. Or I'll teach you some simple steps for getting started so that your fitness gradually builds without too much pain. Or I'll show you a set of core exercises that will transform your body shape. Or I'll introduce you to the kind of diet that's easy to follow to help you to maintain your ideal weight. So you're not getting into what the exercises are, you're not getting into what foods they eat, or like the simple steps in a fitness program. It's, here's your problem, we agree on that, this is where you're heading. So back to our list, we've gone through the headline, the client's problem, the solution to the problem, and the story that's associated with their problem, and the solution that you're offering. And now we look at actually making the offer. So again, we're trying to incorporate some flow here. So at the offer stage, this involves explaining, this is the what, where you start to get into the detail. This involves explaining that what you're going to do as a coach, and you're explaining to people how they're going to do it. So if we think about the flow, we've maintained interest, hopefully, in the way that we've written our copy. We've attracted them with a headline. Yes, you understand my problem, so I'm interested in learning what you can help me to do. Now I'm starting to become curious about, well, all right, so how are you going to do that, big shot? And so this is where we get to the offer. So the offer is, as you'd expect, all about talking in some detail about the components of your program. So how long is it? Is it 6 weeks, 6 months, a year? Will it be a membership? What sort of downloads are you going to provide? What sort of support are they going to get along the way? Is there any live interaction? Will you actually be doing a live event, or will it all be online? So it's all of those sorts of things there that people will logically want to know. All right, you've convinced me that you might have a solution. Let's look at the how. And that's what the offer is about. So that's where we bring in logic. Now we turn to bringing in the emotional component. So the next item on the list would be, how would it feel? So we focus our prospects in our copy on the result that they're going to get as a result of working with you. So literally like this, asking the question, how would it feel when you've designed, created, and then launched your very own online coaching program? How would it feel when you're able to meet your goal of completing the 5-kilometre fun run as a result of my coaching program? What would it mean for you if you're able to do X, Y, and Z? Or what would this mean for your family if you did A, B, and C? So this is a really powerful part of the overall sales letter. And again, just to reinforce the thought that people will evaluate what you have to offer using logic, but the thing that will get them to sign up is the emotional component. Getting them, literally forcing them in a nice sort of way to get in touch with their feelings about that is a very powerful thing to do. We keep going with that theme when we talk about getting people to consider the value. So what would the value be to you in having a passive income stream from your coaching business? How would your life be different if you were earning an extra $5,000 a month from your coaching business? Imagine what it would be like to wake up each morning when you're feeling fit and full of energy and enthusiasm. How would you like to be able to rescue your wardrobe and be able to fit into outfits that you'd love to wear, all as a result of your weight loss? Or what price would you put on having romance back in your marriage and actually being able to enjoy your partner's company? So typically in a persuasive sales letter, you might have 3 or 4 or 5 bullet points getting people to reflect on the value. And then at the end of that, actually drop in a statement. So if that costs you XX dollars, if that costs you $10,000 to learn how to actually create a passive income, would that be worth it to you? How would your life be different if you're earning an extra $5,000 a month from your coaching program? Would it be worth to pay $1,000 to get access to that kind of coaching? So typically what you would say then is that you would not be paying anything like $10,000 today. You're not going to be paying anything like that, which then transitions into actually stating what the price is. So the price needs to be in alignment with the value your client would place on the results that you're promising. So it's asking your client, being clear in your mind, but actually asking your clients, what would the value of having an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a month, what would that mean to your client? What would the value be to them of not having to pay expensive fitness club fees or gym fees by getting fit with your online program? Or what would the value be in not having to have regular visits to a physiotherapist, chiropractor? What would be the value of saving your relationships? And again, you could put some suggested dollar amounts to this. Like, would it be worth it if it costs $5,000 to actually save your marriage? Would it be worth it to you not to have to go to a physical therapist all the time because you've taken the trouble to get fit and to develop your core, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things, when we're talking about the value and the price and what would it mean is locking into that emotional component. So a common approach would then be to say, when announcing your price, well, something like that probably would be worth $10,000. Now that's its true value. But today, you're not going to pay anything like that. And then you would actually state what your price is. And often, people will put special offers in that if you sign up today, I'm going to knock another 50% off that. And so that brings in this kind of fear of missing out component. Now, to strengthen your offer, something that a lot of people will build into their sales copy is the use of testimonials. Now, they can be useful, but ideally, without the use of testimonials, you want your sales copy to be sufficiently strong enough and enticing enough to get people to act without having to rely on other people's recommendations. You know, I think to some degree, when people see a lot of testimonials, there's a degree of skepticism about it. I have signed up to a lot of internet marketers, you know, who have affiliate programs, and they're quite different people. But funnily enough, the people who are offering testimonials are faces I've seen just about on everyone's site. So, you know, I would then have to say, well, you know, has this person actually used the product? Is their testimonial actually true? If you've got genuine testimonials, fine. I mean, I guess a video testimonial would be better than a written one. But if you're going to use testimonials, they need to be genuine. The other issue is if you're just starting out your business and you don't have testimonials, well, you're not going to have the benefit of them anyway. So again, just concentrate on getting great sales copy, leading them, having the story hang together, and getting the copy to do the selling, not relying on the sale to testimonials. We then do some more work on the emotional component, and this is the fear of missing out component here, which Robert Cialdini in his Influence and Persuasion book talks about. In fact, all of the writers do. But yeah, asking the question. So, what would you lose if you don't act now to get your coaching online? And you know, if you've been talking about earlier in your sales letter that you know you can set up a 5 to 10K a month extra income, what would you lose if you don't act now? What will you lose if you don't act now to start getting fit and losing weight? You know, are you going to be continuing to suffer health problems, heart problems, diabetes, or whatever the case might be? What will you lose if you continue to ignore that your relationship isn't working well right now? So that's kind of the fear factor that you're bringing in. You know, two powerful motivators: the power of reward or benefit, and fear. So this is the other side of the coin that we're introducing now into our copy. So having had them to reflect on that, it's time then to put in a reminder. So review the offer that you're making. Remind them about exactly what they're going to get when they sign up, and it's about the result. And then provide an itemized list of what you'll provide in your coaching and how you'll provide it. So what do you reckon the next step would be, having reviewed the offer? What would you be doing next? I would imagine you're saying, well, it's time to ask for the business. So that's literally what you do. So this, what will you lose now, part of the sales letter really transitions quite neatly into asking for the business. So you would have a statement or a sentence saying, act now, and you know the last item in your sales letter on your webinar would be a link or a payment button. And that might actually appear in several stages throughout your copy. So this is the formula that we've talked about, which provides a little bit of structure and a little bit of flow to your sales letter. But again, I just want to reinforce that you're not locked into the order of that, but there is some logic in how those components fit together, which hopefully you've seen. But your writing needs to be natural and it needs to flow, and hence that sort of storytelling elements that we've introduced that. So I guess the question to ask, and in terms of a review of our content today, could you see yourself actually doing something like this? So having a headline, obviously, that attracts the client's attention, but then going on to state the problem or to ask them if they have a problem. telling them now, explaining now, and explaining why now is the perfect time to actually solve it. And adding some story to that about why that's actually the best time. Getting into the detail of your program. How is it that I'm going to teach you? What are the results that you're going to get? What will be the value to you of doing this? How much would you expect to pay? And what you'll miss if you actually don't sign up and then act now. So that's the process. It sounds simple, but this is highly creative work, and it does take practice. But I hope with the advent of that suggested formula combined with a storytelling style of copywriting, that's going to help you at least get started if you're not familiar with doing it. As I've indicated, this is an outline that can be turned into a sales page, or it could be turned into the sales content of a webinar. I hope you'll agree that this kind of approach probably flows, a lot better, a lot easier than following a rigid structure. So I'll wrap it up there now. I'll check the comment section in a moment, but I would really genuinely, I might as well stop the share, mightn't I, and come back and do this in the live. So yeah, look, I would genuinely appreciate some feedback from you today on how this might have helped you. What have been your biggest takeaways from today's session? I would also genuinely love any feedback about other content that you'd like me to see, or like me to teach, that would help you to advance your business. And again, I'll check now in the group if there are any comments. Just bear with me one moment. And I can't see any questions there. So again, I would welcome questions as the week goes on. So this is Get Moving Monday, and I hope you have a great week. And again, I look forward to comments and questions and those things in the group, and we'll see you next time. So this is Anthony signing off for today. See you later.